Going over to the Cultural Pod podcast, you have Matt Walsh calling for the death penalty for a woman who is accused of distributing material of child being abused. As I try awkwardly to keep the vernacular somewhat child appropriate, inherently because of the subject matter of this clip, I recommend you put the earmuffs on the kids if they're in the room or listening, so to say. Now, that being said, Matt Walsh is responding to Libs at TikTok. Now, Libs at TikTok originally posted on X saying, quote, Long Island child therapist Renee Hoberman pleads guilty to the distribution of videos of infants being taken advantage of in an adult way. Hoberman, wow, she admitted to using social media to upload, receive, and trade digital videos depicting minors, including several videos of infants being physically restrained. Physically restrained and abused by adult male as infants cried and screamed. She faces up to 20 years in prison. This is an evil monster, and she looks like it as well. Jesus. Ugh. Yeah, now Matt Walsh, And Matt Walsh responded to this saying, quote, I want someone who is opposed to the death penalty to explain in clear terms why exactly we shouldn't drag this monstrous freak in the front of a firing squad. She admitted her guilt, so there's no concern about accidental executing an innocent person. So then why shouldn't we? Honestly curious to see someone make sense. Which, yeah, I am very much pro-death penalty. In this case, I think the court should have, and again, some states, including, I believe, most recently, and by recent, I mean like past 6 months, states like Florida have given the option for judges to assign the death penalty for people who abuse children that way. Again, it's not required, but some states are, and more and more states are giving judges the option to pursue that. Now, again, a lot of these people are taking plea deals to plead down from these charges as well, which is the major incentive mechanism for the mass court system. You plead down, and also the risk is they're avoiding that risk of something worse being assigned to them as well. And this went pretty well. I got 1.9. I was about to say 1.4. Got 1.9 million views as well as 24,000 likes. Now, one of the top comments comes to us thanks to Saxifrax84, says, quote, she deserves the death penalty, getting 72 likes, going up like a stock. Though, not financial advice. You also have Based Electrician says, quote, the face of evil comes in all different shapes and sizes. In this case, she is a very obese white gal with long hair. Though, interestingly enough, the hair is not short, it's not blue or pink. She has a nose ring, which I don't know why people keep doing that these days. That from the Based Electrician got 18 likes, including one for myself. 22 likes, jeez Louise. Going like CrowdStrike stock. Again, not financial advice. Stuart Patton says, quote, I'm not against the death penalty, but I think I can make some of kind of sense for not applying this situation. He goes, quote, all human life is inherently valuable. Every human being should be treated as an end unto itself and not an instrument to achieve another's end. Therefore, the death penalty should be reserved only for the most heinous of crimes. Well, no shit. I would argue this is one of them. Again, I'm injecting my opinion right there. I'll continue his comment. And he says, quote, while the activity Hoberman engaged in is criminal, gross, and really terrible, it does not rise to the level of heinousness that we should reserve for the ultimate punishment. Getting 40 likes. And I guess I should also clarify what the judges are allowed to in states like Texas and Florida. Again, that applies to the people who are perpetrating the actual act. She is admitted to being guilty of distribution of the material, which I would argue that would still be a good application of the death penalty of the judges and the jury if they choose to assign it to her. Because again, she's providing an incentive mechanism for these things to continue and for these monsters to keep getting this material. Of course, I'm sure Democrats will say she's a hero because they turn the worst of society into martyrs. Now, Smith says, quote, I'll give you 2 reasons. Life in prison is a worse punishment and it's cheaper than the death penalty, getting 51 likes. That is the dumbest. Now, I should clarify. It's so weird. It makes sense, but like it blows my mind that it costs more for the death penalty than to pay for someone to live in prison for the rest of their life. Now, it's partially because the appeal process, I mean, you can get like 20 appeals. The process for appealing the death penalty, it takes decades. It's ridiculously burdensome. Now, I mean, that's interesting. An interesting debate. Is life in prison a worse punishment than the death penalty? In this case, I would say no, because she's a woman. Because again, men and women are different, and the prisons are very much different. I'm not saying it's a cakewalk to go to a female prison, but compared to a male prison, especially when you are the one being accused of hurting kids, that is a weird type of mob mentality, but a vigilante justice that many people hope for. I'm not saying, again, vigilantism is illegal, but if you have a man who hurts a child and he goes to a jail or prison, I get the two mixed up, apologies. Justice is done by the end of the day, because even the worst people in society, even though they know those monsters deserve death. The main instance is when the men go to prison for hurting children, while the judge doesn't give what many people would believe is the proper justice, the inmates do. How do I spell this out less eloquently? Inmates kill child abusers. Now, you also have Rooster1 saying, quote, "Is that what your Catholic fathers teach you? Is there such thing as justified murder? Interesting. When you skip the world's religions and when you skip the world's religions and go straight to Jesus and his word, you can find out you've been lied to your whole life." Getting 14 likes, which, yeah, there's a lot of diehard Christians and Catholics who are very much against the death penalty, which, again, I have family members on both, of both ideologies in that regard, which, again, I'm not saying you should get the death penalty for stealing a sandwich, but again, for these types of heinous crimes, most evil thing, and she's adjacent to it, she's providing that incentive mechanism and distributing it. I mean, I would argue that the judges and juries should have the option to assign the death penalty to people who commit the crime that she admitted to. Now, Mr. Pitbull, who, again, I'm not sure, is it the rapper? Does he have a disproportionate amount of time in his hands where he can tweet, maybe? Perhaps. I haven't heard of a song of his in a while. I believe he had a song about the hotel. He's very passionate. Perhaps he owns a chain of Super 8 hotels or motels, but I partially digress. He says this, and it's a picture of a child with a scar on her cheek, and it says, "When a dog attacks and scars a child for life, it is put to sleep. Why don't we do the same thing to child abusers?" Gained 326 likes. Now, again, thankfully, states like Texas, Florida, and I believe also recently Tennessee do have the option, and judges have been pointing them to assigning the death penalty to those types of monsters. Now, again, the issue is they can appeal it for like 20 times or something like that. But it gets it going in the right direction, I believe, so to say. I don't know why. I don't think this is relevant, but this is one of the most popular comments, so I'll read it. Akusha Gropier claims says, quote, "She's Jewish, by the way," getting 1.2 thousand likes. You also have Leo Tolveski, I believe, saying, quote, "Child therapist means she went to graduate school and studied in depth the child development, trauma, cure, memory formation, etc. in detail, took all the exams and passed them. She has a high-resolution conception of just how awful her behavior was," getting 527 likes. Skeletor says, quote, "Because we can't inflict the pain upon her that she spread upon others, and because we need to trust our prison ministries to reach the unreachable for Christ," getting 187 likes, which, yeah, that is, I mean, I'm not just Catholicism, but many religions do have the base of forgiveness, or they have one of the basic foundations is, the belief of redemption and forgiveness. Which to a certain extent, I believe in. I mean, I know people who have done things like drugs and theft, and they become contributing members of society. I absolutely believe some people can be rehabilitated. Statistically speaking, the percentages are not high, but it is absolutely possible. I've seen some great turnaround and great success stories. Again, but for some heinous crimes that especially have such a high propensity of abuse to be repeated, oh yeah, I don't think these people are such a risk to society. We as a society, I believe, should not accept the risk factor of them being out and about and repeating these offenses. And again, she did something not as heinous, but I think because of the severity of what she's doing, I would still argue, let's have the judge be able to have the ability to assign her the death penalty. Now, Brotherhood says, quote, Western nations only developed a moral population by constantly culling their top 1% most evil year over year. We stopped doing that, and unsurprisingly, reversing those results. Gained 1.6 thousand likes. Stevo says, quote, "I had an argument once with someone against the death penalty. His argument was simply, one innocent person killed is enough to stop it. My argument back was, one innocent life being taken by an illegal should then stop illegal immigration. One boy winning against girls should stop transports." Getting 759, make it 761 likes. Heartland Grump says, quote, "A firing squad would be a waste of ammunition. A long drop from a rope in a public square would get set an example, and you can reuse the rope." Getting 223 likes. Although, is he just funded by Big Rope? Is he a Home Depot employee? I'm like trying to futile attempt to make this very dark segment of the show moderately less depressing. Peachy Keenan says, quote, "Wood chipper feet first," getting 277 likes. which, what is this? Salty sauce. I forget what meme this is, but it's a soldier. I believe it's a soldier standing next to a tank. It's in black and white. It's a soldier standing next to a wood chipper in the lake. It says, "Oh, wood chipper of the lake, what is your wisdom?" He says, "PDFs are not people," getting 244 likes. We also have follower of the way say, quote, "No, not by firing squad, by blunt force trauma starting at the feet. Yes, I volunteer as executioner," getting 191 likes. A lot more memes or memes, as I like to pronounce them memes, but most people call them memes. And a lot of people are depicting ancient medieval punishments and the vast wide array which methodologies in which they used. So again, I mean, I guess he's facing 20 years in prison, but because of things like good behavior and some, wardens and some release policies, I would guess if she's nonviolent in prison, maybe she gets out in 5 years or 10 years. I think that's way too soon. I think 20 years is way too light for this type of sentence. Because, again, she's putting all this stuff out there, and it's the worst material on the planet. It'll be interesting to see. Because it's the distribution of the material, not the creation of the material, I don't know how many states will shift their policies so that you can legally assign them the death penalty and give judges and juries that option. I think if we push for it and promulgate our deals and maybe get on a ballot and, go to Hobby Lobby, get some nice poster board, and peacefully let our opinions be known, I suspect places like Florida, Tennessee, and Texas may implement those types of rulings where judges can have that option. I mean, places like California and Minnesota, they would never. But I suspect it is possible in our lifetime where we have a shift in not just, cultural belief, but also justice system policies, where this person, I would argue, would get a more appropriate sentencing. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.